I'm going to say the beginning of chapter 4, the personal computer. One night in January 1975, Bill Gates was playing cards with some friends at Harvard University. He was 19 years old and he was studying law, but his first love was computer. Suddenly, his friend Paul Allen rushed into the room carrying a magazine. Bill, come on, you've got to see this. I'm playing cards, said Bill. Are you winning? No, but, well, this is our chance to win big. It's what we have been waiting for. Bill left his playing and looked at the magazine that Bill had brought. On the magazine's cover, there was a picture of a new computer called the Altair. Paul Allen and Bill were both amazed and excited. The Altair was what they had both been dreaming of, the world's first personal computer. Bill and Paul had both loved computers for many years, from the time where they were at school in Seattle. They have already started a company which used computers to calculate the routes for traffic on busy roads. But both of them saw that the Altair was their big chance. For years, they had believed there would soon be personal computers, a small machine that anyone could buy and use. New chips were being produced that had much of the power of the older mainframes, but they were tiny and cheap. But computer industry was all interested in make big and expensive machine for business. And in 1975, computers industry was almost completely controlled by IBM. It's easy to forget how powerful IBM was, said Bill Gates today. When you talk to young people who've only come into the industry recently, there's no way you can get that into their minds. In 1975, IBM was the computer industry. The biggest company in the business. It was bigger, richer, and more powerful than all the other computer companies together. If IBM saw no future for personal computer, how could the Altair succeed? But Bill Gates and Paul Allen believed there could be an enormous market for machines like the Altair, a market of people just like them. They were people who loved computers and who would give anything to have their own machines. Wow, said Bill Gates as he read about the Altair. We knew that someone was going to do something about this, something with these new chips, but it's hard to believe it's actually happening. We got to do something about it. They are going to need software, right? Right. Well, let's get them on the phone and tell them what we can do. Wow. Yeah.
I'm going to read chapter 4, page 28. Okay, said Paul, I'll make the call. The company that was making the Altair was called MITS in Albuquerque, New Mexico, nearly 3,220 kilometers away from Harvard. The company was owned by a man named Ed Roberts. Paul phoned Ed. We've got a really good program, and it's just for your machine, he said. It's nearly finished, and we would like to come and show it to you. Fine, said Ed Roberts. I'll meet you at the airport. However, Bill and Paul had a big problem. They had not actually written the program that they had promised. So they sat down and worked as hard as they could. After several days and nights at their desk, they had nearly finished a program that would allow the basic computer language to be used on the Altair computer. But the day before the trip to Albuquerque, Paul said, "There's still a problem, Bill." "What? Everything looks fine to me." "No, not a problem with the program. We haven't got enough cash to fly all the way to New Mexico." "How much have we got?" "Just enough for one ticket." "Well, why don't you get some sleep," said Bill. "I'll steal up and finish the program, and you can fly down and show it to Head Roberts." So Paul Allen flew down alone. When Head Roberts met him at the airport in Albuquerque, Paul was surprised. He expected a boss of a new technology company to look rich and powerful, but Head seems like Paul himself, but older. He was an engineer dressed in jeans who drove an old van. An MITS factory and office was a very ordinary building in a cheap area of the town. It looked like a small engineering factory on the edge of a city. But it was the birthplace of the personal computer, the machine that would change the world more than anything since the invention of the motor car.
To say, chapter 4, page 29. Ed Roberts did not really want to be the father of the personal computer. He wanted to be a doctor. But he always loved engineering, and he read all the books he could find about how to make your own machine. After a period in the Air Force, engineering seemed the best way to making a live. But by 1975, Ed Roberts owed almost $400,000, and MITS was close to going out of business. The company sold equipment to people whose hobby was electronics. With parts from MITS, these people could build their own electronic calculator for less than $100. At this time, a similar machine cost 4 times as much in a shop. But other bigger companies quickly entered the market, charging even lower price than MITS. Soon Ed Roberts needed $65 just to stay in business. But he had an idea for a new product. He explained it on a cassette, and he sent to his friend Eddie Carey. Eddie exchanged cassette tape because they were speaking so often on the telephone that they could not afford the bills. One day, Eddie received a tape on which Ed sounded more excited than usual. "I'm going to build a computer," he said, "something anyone can buy. And there are people out there who will buy it. People like us who want a computer more than anything else. All the computers in the world seem to be locked up in enormous organizations, guarded by prized white coats. I can end all that. Everyone can have their own machine. They can do anything they want with it. It will be wonderful. I'll make it so cheap that no one can afford not to buy it."
That's it?
That's it.
Excellent.
I'm going to say 1.5 page. Eddie Carey thought that this was just another Ed's crazy ideas. A complete computer. Only IBM did that. In fact, Ed Roberts had no idea how difficult the project was going to be. But he did have a brilliant starting point, the new 8080 chip from Intel. The chip was as powerful as the mainframe from a few years ago. And if he could only buy the chip cheaply enough, he was sure his plan would work. He phoned Intel. "How much do you want for the 8080? Said Ed. "They're worth $350 each." "That's too much." "But I need a lot of chips." "What would the price be for a big order?" "Well, how many machines do you need?" Eventually, Ed Roberts got the price down to $75 per chip, but only if he bought a very large quantity of chips. Of course, this meant that he could only save his business if he sold lots of the personal computers that he was going to build with the chip. And he needed more money before he could start. Ed went to his bank for a meeting late one night. He explained his plan to build and sell a personal computer. Finally, he said, "The question is, do I close down MITS or do you lend me $65,000? How many machines will you sell in the first year?" asked the banker. 800, said Ed. "That sounds very optimistic." The bank manager was doubtful that Ed Roberts could sell very many personal computers, but he was persuaded by Ed's positive attitude. So Ed got his money and announced the altar. And within a month, he was getting 250 orders every day. It seemed there were lots of people like Paul Allen, Bill Gates, and Ed Roberts himself, people who wanted their own computer. In fact, some people were so enthusiastic that they camped outside Ed's factory while they waited for their altar. They were in love with the idea of personal computing. The altar was named after a planet from the TV show Star Trek. And on paper, it did sound like something from science fiction. A small, cheap computer that everyone could use in their own home. But in reality, the altar could not do very much at all. It was not much like today's personal computers. There was no keyboard, no screen, and no printer. Programs were loaded bit by bit, by moving switches on the front of the machine. The results were shown by little light that could be turned on and off. The memory was tiny, and there was no software at all. This was the perfect opportunity for Bill Gates and Paul Allen.